right, Bryce. It is probably a crime that the PlayStation 5 has been out for so long, and I've waited this long to play the Souls game for it on the Dojo.
An incredible amount of patience shown.
So here we are. We've finally done it. Welcome back, everybody, to the Dojo Enraged site. I'm Jeff. And Bryce, today, I would like to make the case to you, the non-Souls player, that you should play this Souls game.
Okay, I could be won over. I think this is not an impossible task.
Well, first off, let me just say that it's funny that only now is this game available because, the Souls games, they've all evolved and they all started here. So a lot of the concepts that you end up in the later games using are ones that hypothetically you should have learned through this game instead of just jumping into like the third game where they've cranked up the difficulty and everything's a lot harder. So I'm really glad that this is here because I'm hoping that it can get people more interested in the series who maybe have never been interested in the series. So you said you played like Bloodborne, right? A little bit, but just didn't.
I played a couple of hours of Bloodborne and I just had a difficult time with the repetition of it, right? Not even as like a roguelike where you are dying and you're starting over and you're doing runs. But you're just dealing with ooh. And so just the repetition felt very difficult for me.
Okay. I think I might have a way. I think I might have a way after replaying all the way back through Demon's Souls. I think I might have a way to describe this game that might make it easier for people who want to play it. And I think that is, think of this as like a puzzle game. Think of Demon's Souls as a puzzle game more than like an action game. Like less Devil May Cry and more like, I don't know, like, you know how Resident Evil has a lot of puzzles? Anyway, first we got to create a person. What do you this is going to be all for you, Bryce. What do you think? Lady or dude? Lady or dude?
Body.
Let's go dude. Okay.
Let's go dude.
And we'll just call this guy Eric? Okay.
Eric. Yeah.
With the K. CK. Okay.
CK.
That's good.
CK.
Okay. And then
that's how you know we're in the magic realm.
There's a bunch of starting gifts here. I'm going to say you should always grab this ring because it just makes shit drop more often. And everything else in here is a consumable, so you're going to use it and then it's going to be gone, whereas this is going to help you out for a long time. And then we got some presets. I just think we should pull one of these crazy faces. They've totally redone the system so that people don't look like monsters.
Wow.
Let's see. Purple Man.
Yeah, Purple Man. I think it has to be.
Okay, and then so the big thing in Demon's Souls is that you're going to spend a long time with whatever you start the game as. And I've thought about this long and hard. Now, everybody online is going to tell you, they're going to be like, play as royalty. That's the easy mode because they start with magic. But I think that if you're just coming into this for the first time, I think that magic is going to be a little too fiddly. I think that you should start with the priest.
Oh, okay. Now, what is okay, let's go priest. Tell me what it's like.
Okay, so the thing is, the priest has armor and a good weapon and a good shield, but they also have access to one miracle, which gives you just basically like a bonus healing spell. Here we go. We're talking about the fog and shit now. Here comes the fog.
BOLETARIA was cut off from the outside world.
Fog historically not good.
The deep fog. Never.
Oh wow, that's a heavy fog. That's more like an eclipse. I would think then.
Is that the fog? Was that the one? Well, no, it was the mist. It's the mist was the one that had the horrible ending. That movie where it was like, oh yeah, it's a great movie with such a super bummer ending. Boo.
The great beast below the NEXUS.
Anyway, so here's the thing. I think that magic is really important, and magic is kind of like easy mode in this game. But if you're just starting out, I think that your best bet is to play a character that has a sword, a shield, some amount of armor, and like learn the action, learn the combat in the game first, and then start dicking around with magic. But the nice thing about a priest is that they have access to miracles, which are like they're beneficial. There's a few attack spells that they have, but for the most part, they're things like cure poison, heal yourself, things that are where you don't cast them in the middle of combat. So I think that it gives you exposure to the magic system without having to rely on it, which can be pretty fiddly when you first start out. So,
how do you just learn magic spells like an RPG character, or are those items that you find?
You buy magic from vendors.
The magic. Buy it. Okay.
Somebody's doing construction outside of my house. I was confused. Yeah, you buy spells, and then the most important thing here is that when you beat bosses in this game, you get a big fat boss soul, and you can do 3 or 4 things with that. You can just like consume it and get a bunch of souls you can use to level up. You can use it to upgrade certain weapons to like an ascended weapon that is a specialty weapon. You could trade it for a spell, or you can trade it for a miracle, but you only get 1 boss soul, so it's worthwhile to just kind of think about what you want to do with it. You can buy like a couple of miracles, but then you're getting any of the extended stuff is going to be gated for a little while until you rescue some vendors and stuff. Anyway, if the lady will ever shut up, we can.
Quite a long introductory. Here you go.
So since I've already beaten the game, it gives you the option to skip this tutorial section if you want. But I'm going to just go ahead and play through it.
Brave soul who fears not
Oh
death.
man, Eric is a looker. He's like Thanos' cousin. This is my cousin Eric.
Yeah. Hello, I'm Eric.
So that
A Titan.
you may lull the old one back to slumber.
Like a bit of cornhole. Is there story
Yes.
in this, Jeff? I know that we've sat through a lot of cinematics here. I wonder how much that impacts.
Yes, there is hella story. All of the games have story. This one's is a little bit more straightforward because because there's like literally cutscenes that outline stuff, and then not just that, but like when you get to the place where you choose your levels, there'll be like a little story recap that'll tell you about the stories. So anyway, basics of Demon Souls. It's just like other Souls game. Your L1 button blocks, your R1 button attacks, your R2 button is a heavy attack. You can backstab by getting behind people. It gives you like a super hit. L2 button is parry. I don't recommend parrying it first because it's a little fiddly, and if you time it wrong, then you take a hit. One of the reasons I think Demon Souls works better as a beginner game than Dark Souls is that instead of a limited use Estus Flask, you have these little grasses that I'm picking up, and you can farm those. So you can literally just bring like a huge amount of healing items into a level, which, see, in Dark Souls, you had a very limited amount of heals. So the whole point of the game was learning, like, how do I get from point A to point B without with the right number of without taking damage, so that you have healing items for the boss and whatnot. Whereas here, you can just mitigate that if you put a little time into it, which isn't a big problem. As with all the games, stamina, the green bar at the top, like you use it for running, you use it for blocking, you use it for attacking. So the whole thing is kind of, I don't know, just like keeping a good eye on that, so that if you just block all the time, you won't have the stamina to be able to counterattack. If you run all the time, you'll run out of stamina. But when you have a shield that does 100% damage reduction, whenever you get hit, it takes stamina away instead of health or anything. And then once you let go, you start getting it back. So I think that everybody should start playing Souls with behind a shield. I think that like people who really like this game will be like, nah, dude, you gotta dodge and parry and like get good and shit. But I think it's really worthwhile to get a handle on like how these systems work before you start trying to like do all that advanced shit. So,
Now, does this is there a lot of with like dodging? Is how like I'm watching you play here, and it's not as kind of like you mentioned as a mobile of a play style, but is there advantages to being extra mobile? Are there like iframes?
Yeah, 100%. In fact, one of the things... Okay, so this character starts out with a lot of armor, but you can see in the upper right-hand corner how there's that 74%. In Demon Souls, if you are below a 50% equip, then you can do a fast dodge. If you are above 50%, then you do what's called a fat roll, which is not nearly as effective. So, like, once you get good, noob, then eventually, and I'm not saying that specifically to you, I'm saying that to everybody, but, like, once you kind of get the rhythm of combat, you can spend more time dodging and less time blocking, and, of course, that's going to give you more mobility on your enemies and just kind of a better... It'll free you up to deal with more stuff at the same time, because instead of turtling behind a shield, you can be very mobile. You can move around. You can change the placement on enemies, and kind of just get a good, get the best like angle on the people that you're trying to fight. Like, I think that one of the things every time I make a video that is any kind of like, here's why you should play Souls, one of the first things that I always say is that I think that people put a lot of emphasis on a lot of different mechanics in the Souls series, but I think that one of the things that they don't talk enough about is just simply, without rolling, without blocking, without doing anything, just spacing. Just like, how far are you from your enemy? Because you could just, you don't have to block. You can just stay out of their range. You can move to the side if they're attacking with an attack, and you can get behind them and do stuff like that. So, before you...
Now, is that a special move that you're doing? Because I've seen you do that a few times now, the sweep in the leg move. Is that a special skill tied to
That's
that
a backstab,
or what?
essentially. So if you're standing directly behind them and you push towards them, then you can do a backstab. Which, for a lot of these early enemies, they're so slow that it's a really good strategy just to try to get behind them, because all their attacks are going to go to the front, and so you can really mitigate a lot of that by going behind them. Now, let's see me make a fool out of myself, shall we? It's time to fight Vanguard, his weird demon nipples.
Oh, my goodness. This is the remake of the original. How are you liking this remake? Like, I'm watching this and it looks it's night and day compared to even the PS3.
Yeah, no, it's great. They did a really good job of making sure that everything was, it's basically like a graphics overhaul. It reminds me a lot of the Shadow of the Colossus remake, where like all of the mechanics kind of are the same, but the graphics just look... Oh, shit. Okay, that's... can't do that again. Ooh.
Uh-oh.
You're supposed to die on this guy, and I just did. If you try to block... I mean, you can beat him. I've seen plenty of people do it. I've never done it myself, but no, it's great. Like, okay, so they didn't change very much. Most everything is the same as it was in the previous one, except it's got a graphical and audio update. The main things that they've changed is it used to be that when you were locked onto somebody, you could only roll in 4 directions: forward, back, left, or right, and now you can roll in 8 directions, so they gave you the diagonals. Demon Souls had this really janky mechanic where, like, you have an equip weight and then you have a carry weight, and if your carry weight is full, then you can't pick up anything else. But now you can send items back to this NPC called Stockpile Thomas that keeps all your stuff. And then there's a really nice screen that shows world and character tendency, which was in the previous game, but not exactly like really well surfaced. All right, so now we're in the Nexus, and the one thing that I will say is kind of a jerk with Demon Souls is that you can't actually level up until you beat the first level. So the first thing that you need to do is beat 1-1 before you can actually gain any levels, gain any stats or anything like that. They don't even bring in the vendors for spells or miracles until you beat the first level.
Hunting for demons.
Oh, okay. And now, is each level have a boss, or is that how they cap these off?
I really think that this is a great way to start these games because, like Dark Souls, Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3, Bloodborne, they're all these interconnected worlds. In Demon Souls, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 archstones. Each archstone has 3 levels except for the first one. So you have world 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 1, 3, 2, 3, 3. And the thing is that if you go in order, each individual area has its own kind of set of things that will, like World 3 is good for magicians because it's got a lot of magic in it. World 4 has like some miracle stuff in it. World 5 is garbage, both literally and figuratively, and no one should ever go there. I hate it so much. So much. All right.
And so, but there's not the levels, or sorry, the archstones. Does the difficulty ramp up, or can you like truly?
You can play it out of order, but it does ramp up. The level 2s are all harder than level 1, and level 3 is usually a boss encounter. It is normally. Demon Souls has a lot of puzzle bosses, so there'll be a lot of bosses that kind of have like a gimmick that you need to figure out. So, yeah, one of the things, though, that is not well explained at all, though, is the tendency system. So the world has a tendency, and you'll see the little eyeballs at the bottom, that goes from pure white, which is at the top, to pure black, which is at the bottom. Every time you beat a boss, you shift one direction up towards white world tendency. Every time you kill an NPC or die in human form, it shifts it down to black. But there are events, like in this level, there's this door that goes over to this area, and it's closed unless you get pure white or pure black world tendency, which is the reason why whenever you beat a boss, you should jump off of a high cliff and kill yourself. All right, a little bit of technical difficulties there. It's really hard to solve technical difficulties when you can't pause the game, Bryce.
I kept noticing, like, oh, he's trying to contact me, but he definitely has to kill these guys first because he can't pause.
That's true. Yeah. So anyway, here we are. We're in Boletaria. We're taking down these guys. Yeah, so I wanted to expand a little bit more on my idea that you should play Demon Souls like a puzzle game.
Yes.
Because the thing with a Souls game is that I feel if there was ever a video game that was that whole, like, Voss, the definition of insanity thing, it's Souls games. Where, like, if you just try to do the exact same thing over and over again and you keep failing at it, that's never going to work. You got to try something different, you know? Like, if you can't tank your way through a thing, then maybe take off all your armor. Maybe go get a different weapon. Maybe try a bow or a spell or a bomb or, you know, just something else, you know, as opposed to just attempting to brute force a solution when one may not be the forciest. I don't know. Does that make sense? Does that track for you?
It makes sense insofar as the idea is you should be willing to change up your play style to match the situation instead of trying to treat it as one big acrobatic event with a meta style.
Yeah, like it's not like Devil May Cry where like the solution is to just be better at
Flash
moving your
everything.
fingers. Yeah, exactly. I don't know. There's more to it than that. Like you can always go. I mean, that's one of the nice things about Demon Souls is that because you have access to all of those different levels. Like if you're having a problem on 3-1, you can always go to 4-1 or 5-2 or wherever you want to go. So don't ever go to World 5. World 5 is the worst. It's the pits and it sucks. And I hate it. I hate it so much. So much. But the worlds themselves are not really all that big. We're what, like 23 minutes in, and I'm like, I don't know, halfway through World 1. And granted, I've played World 1 more times than any human being should.
Yeah. You're going way faster than I would. Like this is, I get this with when I watch speedrunners, right? I would watch someone speedrun like Resident Evil games, right? These like super scary games to me. I scare easy, but they know exactly where everybody's coming from, and they know, oh, I'm going to go here, I'm going to go here. I'm not even thinking about it. Like to them, it's not like a horror game at all. It's just exactly what this is, but without with zombies, and so. I don't know, I'm feeling that right. That's sort of this
like
dysphoria right now.
The whiplash of just watching somebody who knows where every single thing in the entire game is, just kind of ramrod their way through the boulder trap, and
because I would hit that boulder, I would be terrified by it.
Right, but I mean, if you got hit by that boulder the first time, then the second time you would know that there was going to be a boulder coming, and so you'd learn, you'd absorb that information, and then you'd be stronger for it the next time around. I don't know.
Is there a mechanism? You did mention that there's leveling up, and you don't have it until you finish this level here. Mm-hmm. But how much of the game is farming and training your character, or are you able to pretty much just critical path it if you're good enough?
If you're good enough, I mean, most people that speedrun Souls games, they don't even engage with the enemies because they can beat the game at level 1. Like the actual final. This game is probably easier than most to beat at a lower level because, the level 2-3 boss, the level 3. Some of the bosses are very gimmicky, so they don't require the most coordinated eye-hand reflexes in the world. It's more about figuring out how do I beat this? Like that big dragon in the intro is one of the bosses, and if you get hit by his flames, you will just die. So you need to figure out how to sneak around the flames. But basically everything, the souls that you get are the currency that you use to buy items. They're the currency you use to level up. I think that one of the things... Okay, now right here, I just picked up the Cling Ring, which in my opinion is the most important thing in the game because this reduces the amount of damage reduction or the amount of health that you're missing when you're in soul form to 75 instead of 50. So it also gives you a shortcut back to the opening area. So now when you start, you can just go up this tower instead of having to go through all these jerks over here. But yeah, I mean, the thing is that the other thing I always feel like people get really hung up on is, I don't know, I hear this complaint a lot of times where, okay, so if you die in Souls games, you drop all your souls, and then if you go back to pick up your souls, if you die a second time,
you can recover them.
Yeah, but if you die on the way, then they're just gone. They're gone forever. And people are like, well, that's not fair. All my progress. And here's the thing. The amount of souls that you're carrying at any time in Demon Souls, it's ludicrous. It's laughable. There are places to farm for souls that will give you more souls in 5 minutes than you could make going through an entire level. So I always say don't get hung up on losing your souls because you're going to get more souls later. And then, if you lose all your souls, you've been granted the freedom, right? You can do whatever you want to now. You can die as many times as you want to. You don't have to worry about that. So here's a Strava.
That was a bold leap. A surprise
Okay.
indeed.
Every level in Demon Souls has like a quest chain with a different NPC. This one is Ostrava. He gets into trouble, and then you need to like help him out, which in this case is getting rid of these guys so that he feels like he's safe and he can come down off of his dumb perch. Oh boy, that's a lot of guys. Let me eat one of these real fast.
So okay, so it's possible to beat the game at an initial level 1, right? That's probably more of a time commitment more than anything. But what is the gulf between
My thanks.
a player in their first hour versus someone who's gone through everything and done all the leveling? Like, can you make this a significantly easier game if you do a lot of leveling?
I would say somewhat, but not. I mean, okay, so at the end of this level, once they open up the world map, I will show you a place where you can go to get a weapon, like right off the bat, that will two-shot most everything in this level. It does make it easier because there is a big kind of difficulty gradient between the first level and the second level and the third level for all of these different areas. Son of a bitch. But yeah, I mean, it does make the game easier. The more you go through, you'll get more powerful weapons, you'll get better armor, you'll level up. So yeah, it does make a big difference. You will be a very different character at the end of the game than you are at the beginning. God damn you, blue-eyed jerk. Fucking quit making me look stupid. Oh, no, wait, that wasn't what I wanted to do. Making myself look stupid now. So yeah, this is...
He's not going to like the fire. He's not going to like that fire. That was what you needed. Look at that.
Yeah, so Ostrava walks around, and if you let him, he will get himself killed, and if he gets killed, then you can't do his quest chain. So you kind of need to follow him around. Yeah, just from the onset, you can see that just applying that flame resin like really changes the combat calculus quite a bit. But all these red barrels down here will blow up if I touch them with that fire.
Oh, so not ideal.
No.
Not the ideal location matchup.
But I was really recommending the priest in the beginning because you can see that even when I get hit, like the amount of health I'm losing is not that big a deal, right? Like, it could be, God damn it, just be not on fire. There you go. The amount of health that I'm losing is not like so difficult that you couldn't like disengage or kind of get away from combat. Like for a faith-based character, there's a character called the Temple Knight that a lot of people recommend, but I think that character has too light armor, too little health, and they're a little too fiddly. I think that this is a very good, like, stout character. We've even talked about the fact that you have this talisman that I could switch over to instead of my main weapon, and then you can use the Miracle Heal. I don't need it right now, but you can basically get a few healing spells in addition to all of the healing items, these crescent moon grasses that I'm picking up off the ground. So yeah.
Okay. Okay. So you got
Yes.
All right, we've got the archstones. You got the archstones. You go through the levels. They're bosses. Okay. I'm wrapping my head. Like, part of this is just me understanding the actual silhouette of this game. Like, what does it materially look like to play? Having never played one or really any of these Souls style games. So like the fact that you said that there are quests in this has shocked me. My jaw is on the floor that there are things that you do here other than find the path through the level and then fight the boss.
Well, the thing is that I don't want to oversell it, Bryce. Those quests are short. They're usually just I think Ostrava's is probably the longest one. Most of the rest of them involve like one NPC in a level that wants you to go do something, or you're trying to unlock or release an NPC. The main thing is that there's a lot of, you asked about the story, and there is a lot of story, but then the story itself is hidden in like talking to the different people that you rescue and kind of getting their notions about the world. There's a lot of stuff that's kind of hidden. So it's not exactly like you're going to have an exclamation point, But if you follow like Ostrava, you'll find out like why is Ostrava doing what he's doing? What kind of character is Ostrava? And by the end of the game, you'll have a much better kind of idea about that specific character. This guy, get off there. But yeah,
Did he survive that?
no, he didn't.
Oh, he didn't. Oh, I thought okay. All right.
So, but then there's stuff like in the levels, like, okay, so you see here, we've got a bunch of guys down here, and they're all kind of waiting for us in this very thin passageway. But if we look around, we can also see that there's a bunch of boulders over here. So if we were to like
Give them all a boulder. Ah, yes.
then they all just
And
go
then
blarp, 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 blah, 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 blah.
Okay.
And actually, I never noticed this. I don't spend enough time looking at the backgrounds of this, but like, see that bridge over there? That's level 2. And then like beyond that, where that fortress is, that's level 3. And then at the very tippy top of that tower, that's the final boss level 1-4. So you can actually literally see the entirety of the first world from this little outpost, which is pretty cool.
Ah, interesting. And so, what is? Because you mentioned that you're a spirit. You know, you had to die at the beginning of the game here. You're just teleporting around this castle, this world.
Well, okay, so what they were explaining at the beginning when I was trying to decide whether we should talk or whether I should yap or shut up and listen to the story was that, like, long time ago, the soul arts were a thing. Actually, no, the Monumental hasn't even told us that yet.
Oops.
Oh, well. It's a what, an 8-year-old game? There's some dragons over here that you can dick with, but they will set you on fire really quickly. But basically what's going on is you are collecting the souls. You're collecting the soul power of all the different... What happened is that you've got these 5 worlds, and they're all ruled over by an archdemon. And you are trying to basically attract the attention of the big bad end boss demon. By
getting his demon's soul.
Right, by collecting the souls of the different demons. Yeah. So, and there we go. Don't want to stand on that bridge.
Ooh, how far is it going to come? How close is it going to get? Oh.
That far. And then if you time it right, you can actually not get crispied, but I'm going to get crispied. It's going to be fine.
Oh.
Ah.
Whoa. I want to say not ideal.
Not ideal. Keep going. Okay. Keep going. These guys can get out of here. But so one of the kind of cool things about Demon Souls as opposed to Dark Souls is that because it's broken up into these discrete areas, each land has its own storyline. Like, so, you know, the first world is the Boletarian castle. It's where the king is, and you kind of see this empire, this kind of the like feudal empire in ruins. You know, the second level is the Stonefang mines, and it's kind of what happened to these miners that work in this giant, like, you know, this flaming cauldron, like kind of dwarfish type of thing. The third level is Latria, which is this town of, or is intellectual magic-based society that's been corrupted by this ruler. The fourth level is like a death cult that's gotten all bent out of shape. And then the fifth level is garbage. It's just total garbage, made out of garbage. It actually is garbage. It's called the Valley of Defilement. It's where everybody else throws their garbage, and a society has been created of people that have built a whole place out of garbage on top of a poison swamp, which has made them all into terrible mutants that hit way too hard.
So okay, so you're pitching me Demon Souls as a puzzle game. So just to kind of play in the metaphor a bit. Oh goodness. You know, when I think of puzzle-based games, I I think of either two structures, right? One where there's a standard set of play, and there's difficulty within that, but really you're like Sudoku or the crossword, right? Like you're pretty much doing the same thing every time, but there are degrees of difficulty. Versus like more specific types of puzzle games where let's take, say, like even something like Bug Stacks, right, which has puzzle elements, or like Ace Attorney, where you're kind of developing new concepts as you go along. Or like The Witness. The Witness is perfect for this, where you are developing more concepts as you go along, and then you end up using them later. How is this, right? Like, does the gameplay functionally change much over these different worlds?
So the way that I'm thinking about this in the terms of a puzzle is that, like, what you're seeing right now has been me going through this level relatively the same way. For every enemy, I'm running up to the enemy, I'm hitting them with the mace, rinse and repeat. Eat a grass, eat the healing grass if you need to get your health back, and then repeat until the level is over. So inevitably, you're going to run into enemies where, like, that process doesn't work very well. Like, the enemies are resistant to damage, to the melee damage, your weapon doesn't work, or they have some kind of thing. Like, these guys are a perfect example, right? So everybody that I've been hitting in the game so far, I've been running up to them and waiting for them to hit and then counterattacking. Well, if I do that with these guys, it doesn't do shit, because they've got the shield on the front. So it's like you have to figure out a way to get around the shield. And, like, here I'm in a bit of a pickle because the wall is in the way. But like I was doing before, you can, like, roll and kind of, like, nudge these guys a little bit. So, like, in that way, the way that I'm saying to think about it, this guy's really being a douche about this. The way I'm saying to think about this as a puzzle game is more like every scenario in Demon Souls, there's is a lock, right? And there are a shitload of keys to that lock. Like, if I wanted to get through this guy's defense, I could go find a sword. Like, if I was to do what I did before and apply that fire buff to my sword, it would make a real big difference to that guy because those enemies are weak to fire. Or I could get a bow and shoot them from a distance. Or I could use a spell. Or I could, take off my armor and roll. Like, the thing about Souls is that, unlike a lot of games, since it's an RPG, but also a third-person RPG, it's like this configuration is one thing, but, I can put if you really wanted to, you can put a shield in your right hand and use that to attack people like goddamn Captain America. It's not very effective, but you can do it. You can also two-hand a shield and get, like, a bigger effect. There's just a lot of different ways to play the game, and I think that the way to think about it like a puzzle game is that if what you're doing doesn't work, then, kind of like trying to come up with an alternative strategy instead of just... I think that's where a lot of people fall down on Souls games, is that they hit a wall and then they just kind of bang their head up against that wall and then get frustrated and then quit. Whereas if you look up, like, okay, this is the first boss, Phalanx, which is made up of a bunch of those guys that we just got. So you can see that, like, it would be really difficult for us to try to destroy this thing by hitting it from the front because we've
covered.
Yeah, we know that this guy, now we can see that there's some like weak points in between these guys. So one thing that we could do is we could try to take down these oozes like one at a time. We've got these guys over here. We could get rid of them, hide behind these pillars to keep from getting hit. We could use magic, if we had magic, to try to hit it from a distance, or you could use a bow or something like that to try to get in between there. It just so happens that over the course of the entire first level, they've been giving us fire bombs. And if you do a little experimentation, you'll find out that these enemies, these little goop monsters, they are terrifically weak to fire. So if you start just like hitting them with these fire bombs, then like they're just going to start going down like crazy. And in a matter of, a couple of minutes here, you're all the way down to the core, and you're taking down this first boss and all of its little minions. And if we run out of fire bombs, as I am about to, they've also been giving us enemies in this level that drop this pine resin that sets your weapon on fire. And so then you can just get all up close and personal now that all the little helpers are gone. And boom, there's Phalanx. Well, there.
Wow.
Well, okay. All right. I don't want to die at the end.
You're not ready to call the race yet.
So not every boss works that way, but a lot of the bosses, if you are having a hard time running up and hitting it with a sword, then try something different. Try something besides hitting it with a sword. Try hitting it with a mace. Try shooting it with the thing. So that's what I'm kind of doing when I say a puzzle, because, yeah, I think that if people treat the game, if they don't just try to do it the same way and then get frustrated, then it makes for a more interesting game than, Like, you could shoot everything in Resident Evil with the pistol if you want to, but that's a really substandard way of playing the game. Like, some bosses are going to be better to hit with a stun grenade. Some are going to be better with a flamethrower, et cetera, et cetera.
Sure.
The monumental
Now, how intuitive, or it seems like there's a lot to know, and it maybe seems like these games are also notorious for not really surfacing that information. Is there an actual, we did see you go through kind of the tutorial, quote unquote, section. How laid out is this versus, you need to see this guide and all these other meta things outside of the game to kind of understand it?
I think that the best way to do it is to, you're going to miss a lot at the beginning. But I think the way to do it is play through, and if you get stuck, look at a guide. And then these are messages left by other players. But these are also, see down here is you can also see these tutorial messages. So to use magic and miracles, you must first learn them. Until you memorize them. So this is all tutorial messages to teach you how to play the game. But it's not very well laid out, I'll be honest. A lot of this is
yeah, lines on the floor is maybe a weird help page.
Yeah, I think that there's a way to kind of get into it where you kind of split the difference, right? Like you play the game yourself and get used to just the controls and the way the equipment works and all the rules about that stuff. And then you can start looking online. Like, I will be the first person to say that the weapon upgrades in this system are ridiculous. There's like 12 different types of upgrade materials, and they only work on certain weapons, and you have to upgrade every weapon to +6 and go to a second blacksmith before you can start putting mercury stone on your fucking rapier in order to give it bleed proc damage. And that stuff, I don't even know that stuff by heart. Like, you got to go to a wiki for that stuff. But I think there's a lot that you can suss out on your own, and a lot of that comes from the fact that, like you were talking in the very beginning about the idea that the game is very repetitive, and I think that one of the reasons the game is repetitive is so that you can do that, so that you can, you can try it, you could fail, and if it doesn't work, then you can try something else instead of playing the exact same level the exact same way over and over and over again until you squeak by. Like, especially on this PS5 version, because there's no, like, the load times are so short, it means that you can really just, like, iterate super quickly instead of having to, you can come back to the NEXUS. Every time you die, it puts you back to the beginning, and you can jump back to the NEXUS, pick some different weapons, try a different loadout, go to a different area and start over again. But anyway, we have to wrap this up.
Okay.
Because we've been going for quite a while now. But when we come back tomorrow, we're actually going to take a tour, Bryce, through all the different areas of the game. Because now that once we talk to the Monumental over there, and he's going to give us the story, then we can go to all the different areas and see all the different cool stuff. So
Nice.
In the meantime, go to patreon.com/RageSelect. Hit the like button. That's YouTube. Hit the like and subscribe button and patreon.com/RageSelect if you'd like to help us out by kicking us some bucks. And in return, we kick you bonus videos. Also, there's some Amazon links if you would like to use those to buy things off of the internet. Bryce, where can the people find you on the internet?
Oh, it's super easy.
Yeah.
It's super easy. Just find me on twitter.com/Brycas, BRYCAS.
You should definitely do that. I don't follow that many people on Twitter, but I do follow Bryce, and he keeps me plugged into the youth of America and what they're up to. Hot memes, hot meme action.
Oh, gosh.
That's not true. But hey, come back tomorrow. We have more Demon Souls.